I'd like to thank our reader, Pat Faveron, for the fabulous reading, as well as our CSL music team for the great music they provide for us, not only today, but every week. We continue with our October series right now, which is Fall into the All, learning how to truly relax into the arms of the divine. And our message today is Hearts Matter. I'm sure we'd all agree that the feelings that we carry in our hearts matter to us. We use hearts as a symbol of love. We talk about things touching our hearts as a symbol of our caring and feeling love and compassion. To truly fall into the all, to truly relax into the arms of the divine, we might consider all that we believe in our hearts and how that really does matter. And your question of the day is this: what is the one choice that you can make today to recognize your heart always speaks the truth? That there is no benefit of any amount of conflict, and love is never about compromise. One more time. What is that one choice that you can make today to recognize your heart always speaks the truth? That there is no benefit to any amount of conflict, and love is never about compromise. When I do processes for groups, I typically begin by asking each participant to move into their heart so that it might guide them through the process. There's a reason for that. Our minds can trick us into believing that something is true, that is just something that our egos want us to believe, or something we've been taught by someone in the past. And our hearts never lie. If you're like me, you can feel the truth in your being. The poet Keats wrote, "I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of imagination." Even the Bible says we must know in our heart. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever rationalized in your life that something you thought about a person, some gossip or some unkindness that you held in your thoughts, was justified? I think we've all done that at some point in our life, even if it was just that momentary attack on someone that cut us off in traffic or cut in front of us in a line. I want to challenge you this week to notice what I call the attack thoughts. Those times when your mind believes anything that is remotely unloving is justifiable. Yes, I know that they tell us about Jesus in the Bible. He was at the money changers and he was angry because they were in front of the temple. And yet the correct translation of that is righteous indignation. There is a difference. I'm going to suggest that when you feel angry or something feels like you want to attack somebody, that you use what I described in our 10-year celebration called PB&J, and it wasn't peanut butter and jelly. It's a clever acronym to remember to pause, breathe, and joyfully pray. Have you ever noticed that it's very difficult to have joy and anger simultaneously within you? And by joyful praying, I mean to pray with great enthusiasm about the situation and to remember that there's only one life which you're a part of. With the knowledge that there's truly only one life, think about who you're attacking when you attack another person. Interesting question, isn't it? What we do to the least of our brethren, we do to ourselves. Aggravation, anger, and other similar emotions or just an invitation for us to practice quieting our mind, pausing, breathing, and listening to the heart, to that primal rhythm of life. Pay attention right now to your heartbeat, knowing it's pushing life through your very being, allowing you to live and reveal the wisdom of you, the essence of who you are. When we're in the practice of listening to our hearts, we're able to be in relationship with others in a more authentic and compassionate way. Those attack thoughts occur less often, and they may even disappear entirely. We have the realization that we are always connected, and truly there is but the one life going on, spirit expressing itself. We can be guided to the more compassionate choices, to more compassionate actions, and ways of being with other people. We're grateful for that inner voice that never leads us astray. We can still our mind and open our hearts and listen. Mark was walking home from school one day when he noticed this young man in front of us carrying a whole lot of books. He had 2 sweaters, a baseball cap, a glove, and a small tape recorder. And all of that suddenly fell out of his hands. Mark knelt down to help and realized that he had seen this young man. And since they were going the same way, he helped him to carry part of the load. As they were walking, Mark discovered that the boy's name was Bill, and that he loved video games, baseball, and history, and that he was having a lot of trouble with his other subjects. And he had just broken up with his girlfriend. They arrived at Bill's house, and Bill invited him in, and Mark stayed for a Coke and to watch some television. And the afternoon passed away pleasantly. They had a few laughs, they shared some talk, and then Mark went home. They continued to see each other around school, had lunch together once or twice. Both graduated from junior high and ended up in the same high school. They had brief contacts over the years, but weren't really the best of friends. Finally, the long-awaited senior year came, and 3 weeks before graduation, Bill asked Mark if they could talk. Bill reminded Mark about that day many years ago when they first met. And he asked Mark, "Did you ever wonder why I was carrying so many things home that day?" And Bill said, "You see, I cleaned out my locker because I didn't want to leave a mess for anyone else. I had stored away some of my mother's sleeping pills, and I was going home to commit suicide. But after we spent that time together, I realized that if I killed myself, I would have missed that time and so many more that might follow. So you see, Mark, when you picked up those books, you did a lot more. You saved my life." I suspect that Mark was listening to his heart that day when he helped out Bill. We never know what our actions may create or prevent. So I'm going to ask you this week to look at whether there is any benefit to any amount of conflict in your life. What do you notice about yourself when there's conflict in your life? Does it rob you of your peace? I know it robs me of mine. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind gave us these words of wisdom. The universe holds nothing against us. No matter how many mistakes we have made, we're still perfect beings within. And the within may become the without, if we will carefully train ourselves to listen to the inner voice of truth, which speaks to us in our moments of quietness and solitude. If the universe, the divine, holds nothing against us, how is it that we can actually believe at any level that it's okay for us to hold something against another human being? Mary Baker Eddy founded a popular religious movement during the 19th century that was known as Christian Science and was designed to promote healings through mental and spiritual teachings. There's a great story about her and a neighbor whom she noticed was always curt and rude to everybody. When she would speak to him, he would ignore her or answer in a gruff tone, as though she was disturbing him. So, embracing her own philosophy, she decided to start envisioning only loving interactions between the two of them. I bet you can guess what happened. Yep, her neighbor started smiling at her, and the interactions that they had were always loving connections. The power of the belief and how we hold people in our hearts. I truly believe the world I see is the world in me. I'd like you to say that with me. The world I see is the world in me. I'd like to believe that I claim the facts of my being with certainty, that I claim all of who I am as a child of the divine, and that I am certain of who I am eternally, not just of this world. I think for there to be peace in us and for world peace to occur, that we each have to embrace being in this world, but not of it. Being in this world and of the world of our essence, of our eternality, of the one life that's God's life and that's our life right here and right now. And that means seeing everyone as the face of God. Did any of you ever watch that show called The Dog Whisperer? There was a man named Caesar who went to various locations around the world to help owners with their pets who were unruly. Inherent in Caesar was a love of animals. Time after time, the dogs would be unruly in whatever manner, and Caesar would walk into the room, and with his command of knowing the truth of what was possible, the dogs would calm down immediately. They obeyed him and his commands. That's a great example of knowing the truth and living in it. Like Mary Baker Eddy, Caesar was so steeped in knowing what could be that it would happen. Lesson 273 in A Course in Miracles tells us, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. And it goes on to explain, if we give way to a disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. And nothing can intrude upon the peace that God himself has given. I often wonder why we allow fear to rob us of what is our divine birthright, peace and love. Think for a minute how you feel when you are peaceful and relaxing. Is not that what you want for each person on the planet? We each are worthy of love and of peace. And when our thoughts are not peaceful, do like Mary Baker Eddy. Command the wild thoughts and know the peace of God is yours in any situation. Use PB&J. Take a breath. Pause. Be still and know that you are God. It's a beautiful prayer. When we really know who we are, we know our non-loving thoughts have no power. And any thought that is not of our own greatness is an illusion that we've made up, and we've given it power. Caesar, the dog whisperer, loved animals, and he took charge in a loving way. What if we each decided to love our brothers and respect ourselves and take charge of our lives in a loving way? To walk into any situation and see the truth of who each person is. A loving human being living on this planet, but whose soul is eternal. Ernest Holmes in Creative Living wrote this: love begets tolerance, and tolerance begets understanding, which is being able to put oneself in the other person's place and see why he acts as he acts, why he does what he does. Thus, love can create a better world in which to live. It's the one power which can and must bring peace to a changing world. And while we're creating a better world for us to live in, let's look at that false belief that love is about compromise. The holidays are coming up, and I suspect some of you who are married spent at least some of your years trying to spend time with one family or the other. I remember trying to make the holidays that we had a chance to visit both families. Was that about compromise? Compromise is defined as an agreement or a settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions. Making concessions doesn't feel very loving to me, not in the true sense of love. What if we looked at this compromise as a choice to be loving of our spouse, as an opportunity for us to show love in a special way? And if you feel like it's too much of a compromise to be with their family, when all the time that you're there, you'd rather be somewhere else, don't do it. It's hardly loving to be somewhere and carry resentment in your heart about it and desire to be somewhere else the whole time. Make a choice and embrace it. Remember, the world you see is the world in you. The world I see is the world in me. If your heart is screaming, I can't do this feels wrong, whatever the situation, make a new choice. No one who cares about you, no one who loves you wants you to suffer. I love what Paramahansa Yogananda says. Let my soul smile through my heart, and my heart smile through my eyes, that I may scatter rich smiles in sad hearts. Wow, what a message. Scattering rich smiles in sad hearts. I think we have enough sad hearts in the world that it's time for us to let our souls smile through our hearts. Don't you agree? What is in your heart matters. It's of no service to anyone for your heart to be sad or for you to suffer. Make choices in your life that are not compromising, but are about loving and caring and kindness. Choices that allow you to feel joy. Jack and Cornelia Addington in Your Needs Met wrote this: when we're cheerful, when we are filled with joy, we are filled with God. For God and joy are synonymous. Joy opens all the floodgates of the heart and lets God in. You must know that I love that quote. I would love any quote that says God and joy are synonymous. For me, that's absolutely the truth. So I'm going to invite you to notice when you make choices out of love, if the floodgates of the heart open for you, and God sweeps in to bring more joy and love into your life. What we carry in our heart does matter. How we treat others, whether it be Mark helping Bill out with his books, or Mary Baker Eddy knowing the truth about her neighbor, or Caesar knowing the best of all the animals. It all matters. Ernest Holmes in Science of Mind reminds us of this. The heart is the center of divine love and perfect circulation. Its action is harmonious, vital, adequate, and complete. There is no false action and no wrong action. The pulsations of life are steady, unceasing, and perfect. I invite you to pay particular attention to that line. There is no false action and no wrong action. We've come full circle to where I started. The heart never lies. What appointment do you want to keep today so that you live from a place of harmony, love, and truth? As Confucius say, wherever you go, go with all your heart. So in summary, how might you learn how much your heart matters so that you can truly fall into the all? Remember this, your heart always speaks the truth. Learn to listen what your heart tells you, still your mind, and open your heart to that inner voice. There is no benefit to any amount of conflict. Notice what robs you of your peace and eliminate it. Remind yourself, the world in me is the world I see. Love is never about compromise. Decide to make loving choices rather than compromising. Let your soul smile through your heart. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly make the choice today to recognize my heart always speaks the truth, that there is no benefit to any amount of conflict, and love is never about compromise. I challenge you this week to remember to make choices that are loving and kind, and to allow nothing, no thing, to rob you of your peace. And I invite you to check in a couple times a day to see how you're doing. If there's anything you're holding on to that's other than love for everyone, let it go. Let your soul smile through your heart and scatter rich smiles in sad hearts. Let's pray. We just take a deep, nourishing breath, and we settle into that place in our heart that always tells us the truth, into that place where we know that we are love, where we know that everyone we see is the face of God. What I know to be the truth is all that the divine is: love, joy, peace, safety, freedom, grace. All of that is the essence of your eternality, of your soul, of your heart. And I know that this week, as we move through our week, that we are carrying within us a joy with life, a knowing to make those choices that are choices of love, not choices that feel like compromises, and certainly not to make any choice that would rob us of our peace. So I am grateful. I am so grateful for my life, for an opportunity to live where I know the peace of the divine, where I know love, where I see the love in my friends and family. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action. Because what I know to be the truth is that that heart of the divine always says yes. It's already done. My words are spoken and they've already been acknowledged. So I can just let it be, say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that's been donating. Right now we're seeking to get a new computer because the older ones are not keeping up with the software that I need to use in order to create the Sunday services. So if you'd like to make a special donation to help with that computer fund, just write computer on it and we will know that it's going to go to the computer fund. And thank you for your regular donations and for helping us to stay as a community. Enjoy our offertory song.